Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Space Daily. I'm Gabriel. We are about to get started here. We are just going to take a quick little break, and we will get back to it shortly. So we'll see you guys in just 5 seconds. Okay, we're back here. We're getting ready for the launch of the Ariane, of the Vega Rocket, carrying the SEOSat-Ingenio and the Taranis. So this is launched by Arianespace, and it's launched by Arianespace and also by the European Space Agency. And so we've got a whole slideshow to show you. So I'm going to share my screen here. Share. Okay. So let me just go back here. I'm going to make it over here. Okay. I'm going to present it here. So as we move along, feel free to ask some questions in the chat. We are going to be really happy to hear them, and we've got a whole bunch to cover here, so how about we get started? So first, we're going to be talking about the rocket. The Vega is developed by Avio and the European Space Agency and Arianespace, who also launches it, or European Space Agency and Arianespace launch it. It has 3 solid rocket stages, no strap-on boosters, and those rocket stages are the first 3. The 4th stage is a liquid fuel stage, and that's what puts it in orbit. The cost per launch is around $37 million. Its height is 30 meters, which is 98 feet, and the diameter is 3 meters, or 9.8 feet. It has launched 16 times and has had 15 successful and 1 failure. We could talk about the stages here. Stage 1 is a P-80 engine. It's 38 feet tall and 9.8 feet long. Its propellant type is solid. Propellant mass is 88 tons. The motor dry mass is 7,330 kilograms, which is 16,160 pounds. The motor case mass is 3,260 kilograms, and which is 7,190 pounds. The average thrust is 2,200 kilonewtons, which is 490,000 pounds. The burn time is about 110 seconds, and the specific impulse is 280 seconds. So we currently do not have any questions in the chat, but I'm still going to answer them a little bit later on. We can go on talking for a long time about all these stages, but we'll just go through the height, diameter, burn time, and burn time. So and propellant type. So stage 2 is a Zefiro 23, which is 25 feet long, and the diameter is 6 foot 3 inches. The propellant type is once again solid, and the burn time is 77 seconds. The Zefiro 9, which is on stage 3, is 11 feet tall, 6 feet 3 inches. Is the diameter, and it also has solid rocket fuel. What's the purpose of this launch? I'll go over that on the next slide when we talk about the payload. And its burn time is 120 seconds, or 2 minutes. And stage 4, which is AVUM, is 5 foot 7 inches long, and the diameter is 6 foot 3 inches. It has liquid fuel, which is different than solid fuel. Liquid fuel you're able to control better, but it's more efficient, but it's not as powerful. Burn time is 667 seconds. Obviously, that can definitely vary from the type of payload and how heavy it is. So now we'll talk about the payload. I'm going to put your question here. So what's the purpose of the launch? It's going to launch the SEOSat-Ingenio, which looks like this here. Then we've got the Tarnis, which is right over here. And the purpose of those two is to learn a little bit more about Earth, and just to learn a little bit more about Earth and how it, and yeah, just do some research on Earth. Those are the main purposes of this launch. I'm just going to make a banner here. Oh. Okay, so 1 second here. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about the upcoming rocket launches. There's obviously a whole bunch of rocket launches, and it really varies. Although these are some of the ones that I might be able to do. There's Return to Sender, which is the Electron. It'll be launching in 2 days, anywhere from 8:44 to 11:34. I will not be able to do the 8:34 or the 11:34 one, but I will be able to do the 11:30 or the 8:44 one. We've got the Soyuz Falcon I-2, which is November 28th at 8:33 p.m. And that's it. Next up, we've got another question. How do they decide on the launch time? So let me just put that up. Oh, we don't have it yet for some reason, but so it oh, there we go. I think we just got it here. Okay, how do they decide on the time of the launch? The time of the launch it depends on when the company feels ready for it, and it depends on when they have enough time to on the launch pad to put it together, to put all the pieces together. No, I haven't done it. I'm not doing it. So it definitely varies from launch to launch, and payload, the payload types. So yeah. Any other questions? Feel free to put them in the chat. Yeah. Okay, let me just get rid of that. Okay, so it's time to answer questions, which I just did. Anymore, feel free to put them in the chat. There's another one, which is, were those satellites that are, what do you mean by were those satellites that are?
What's being launched into space, was it satellites or something
else? For this launch, it's satellites, yeah. Oh yeah, they are satellites. They're mostly Earth observation and learning about Earth type satellites, as you can tell they are. And the satellite is going to learn a little bit more about Earth. One of them, I forget which one is going to be specifically studying tropical storms, which is pretty good. I am going to click here. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop this share, and I'm going to share a different screen. Okay, which is going to have the launch. Right. Okay. Let's listen in because they might be giving us some good information.
Different desks within what we call the fishbowl. It's that protected glass. And there are a couple of key people. There's the range operations manager, but there's another one who is the mission director, or chef de mission in French. Today it's Cyril Pombois.
Oh, like she
Cyril,
said.
c'est quoi votre rôle? Ça veut dire quoi être chef de mission?
What's your role, Cyril? What's mission?
So obviously in every launch there is a launch director, and there's a flight director. Flight directors are mainly from the company that's paying for the launch, and the company that's sending the satellite up. So the company that's paying for this launch are the people who built those satellites, which I don't know what the name of the companies are, but whoever built the SEOSat-Ingenio and the Tarnis, they're splitting it, and they each control their own part of it, and they are they're the flight directors. The launch director are people who are experts on the rocket itself, which will be that person right over here. That's the flight director, and so or the launch director, and it's pretty easy to get those two confused. So don't be upset with yourself if you forget pretty easily, but it takes a little bit to learn and to master. Yeah. Let's listen in. We are T-minus 7 minutes and 50 seconds.
Masque est bien sûr obligatoire, et avec la distanciation sociale et les gestes barrières,
Sorry, it's in French, but
on échappe au confinement.
Alors Cyril Pombois, chef de mission, merci beaucoup, et good luck for the launch.
Merci.
So another key person in mission control is the director of the Guyana Space Center, and she is Marianne Claire, and she joins us now from the fishbowl. You can see the glass there, and you can see the VIPs. Hi, Marianne. At this point before launch, everybody's looking at the status panels. What's the latest, and what do they do?
Yes, good evening, everybody. So what you can see behind me is a red and green panel, which give information concerning the good health of the major subsystems which are necessary for the launch. In case of Vega, we can...
So basically they're saying that as you get closer to launch, everybody starts panicking, but in order to control your panic and to make you a little bit less worried, they have a big panel up on the top right behind her, like she's talking about, that tells everybody that everything's looking good or not looking good, and tells them the specifics and what they should do to fix it. But she's saying that everything is looking fine and that there is no need to panic. So that's what we want to hear. Let's listen back in.
Until the end, we check that all the equipment necessary for this function are working properly. And finally, of course, the last but not the least.
Okay, so the question is, why is it in French? Well, the Guyana Space Center is in French Guiana, which and that is where they launch the vehicles, and it's also a European. It's the name of the company is called the European Space Agency and Ariane Space. Ariane Space builds different types of the other type of rocket that's mainly used by the European Space Agency: the Ariane 1, the Ariane 2, the Ariane 3, the Ariane 4, the Ariane 5, and soon to be the Ariane 6. So that's one reason why it's in French. And another reason is just because Europeans, the big language in Europe is French. Let's listen back in.
To introduce you to Damien Gilles, who is the head of space system engineering here at Ariane Space. Do come and join us, Damien. Thank you very much for being with us. So Damien is now going to be with us for the rest of the program. And Damien, you've brought a model with you, I see, very kindly. What's this? What are we looking at?
This model stands for the upper part configuration for the flight of today. So you can see here we have the fairing, which is a white structure, under which you will find the two satellites of our mission. In upper position, you will
4.5
find
minutes
SEOSat,
till launch.
which is the upper satellite, and it is mated on the dark structures that we call the Vespa. And inside this structure, you will find Taranis, our second co-passenger for today's mission.
Now we're coming up to the beginning of quite an important phase in the launch. It's called in the final countdown. It's called the synchronized sequence. Tell us about that.
Exactly. The synchronized sequence is the end.
Attention pour le début de la séquence finale lanceur.
Once again, it's in French. I don't control what language they speak, so I'll go ahead and mute it. So,
And there we have it, the range operation.
so obviously they're turning everything on. Everything's looking good. We are currently T-minus 3.5 minutes. So you're 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And once again, any questions, you can feel free to write in the chat. Yeah. And so what they're saying is that they're talking about what's inside the fairing, and the fairing is what protects the payload that's going to be launched from all the aerodynamic forces, because payloads are not designed to take them, only fairings are. And if something gets destroyed from the aerodynamic forces, that would happen because it is. Okay, let's listen. So we're taking a look at when everything's happening. So let's listen at it.
F09 that will increase the launcher velocity thanks to the use of their own propellant consumption and separation of the stages. The fairing is jettisoned at the beginning of the F09 flight. We have then the separation of the F09 based on an acceleration criterion. And we have the first ignition of the AVU, which is the upper stage, for around 6 minutes. It will allow us to inject the launch vehicle onto an intermediate orbit, during which the launch vehicle will be circularized thanks to the second ignition of the AVU boost just prior to separation of the upper satellite, SEOSat-Ingenio.
Okay, so we're not going to cover the second stage ignition and the separation. We're going to go to the end of the first second stage ignition.
A few minutes later. And then we will get prepared for the injection onto the next orbit with the help of the third AVU boost, which will put the launcher onto another intermediate ballistic phase. At the end of this ballistic phase, we have a fourth AVU boost that will allow us to circularize the orbit prior to injection and separation of our second passenger's Taranis. The mission is not ended yet for the launcher at this point of the time, and we will complete the mission from the launch vehicle point of view with the fifth AVU boost, which allows us the control re-entry onto Earth.
So they're going to be reusing that final stage.
There we go. So yeah, thank you very much. There's quite a mission tonight, and lots to look forward to. We have just heard from the range operations manager that we are 1 minute to launch. And
1 minute
we
to
are
launch.
orbiting SEOSat-Ingenio for Spain and the European Space Agency, and Taranis for the French Space Agency, CNES, and for the scientific community. We're going to sit back and watch now. Have just heard from best wishes to all the teams.
That's what you want to hear. T-minus 30 seconds. Getting ready for launch. Let's put that full screen so that you can see it. T-minus 20 seconds.
À tous de DDO. Attention pour le décompte final.
The final stage will come back to be reused. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. There it goes. There we go. We've got a launch. of the Vega on its way to space.
Position est nominale.
This is the 17th flight of the Vega. 1 failure, 16 successful. If this one is successful.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
There we go.
Acquisition de la télémesure pour la station de Saint-Jean.
The rocket will come back, or not the main stage, the 4th and final stage, I think will come back to Earth, although I don't think it will be reused. I think they're still working on reusing it. I'm not 100% sure.
They are off. SEOSat-Ingenio and Taranis are on their way.
Okay, Ingenio
Flight
and
number 17
Tarnis.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont
blazing a
normaux.
trail towards space over the night skies of the Amazon rainforest. And the range operations manager is telling us that everything is going well. And according to plan, we've broken the sound barrier, haven't we, Damien?
Exactly after 30 seconds of flight, the launcher velocity gets above the velocity of the sound, Mach 1.
And the job of the first 3 stages is to get us away from the Earth.
Exactly, we take advantage of all the energy of the propellants that are stored on the 3 first boosters in order to get away from the Earth's gravity as fast as we can.
Because, of course,
that's
the
what you
Earth's
want.
gravity is what makes us stick to Earth, stick to our planet, but it also makes it quite difficult to leave it. And we can still see the launcher there, that dot in the sky, just going into the distance, deep into space now.
There we go, stage separation
This is the
confirmed.
separation of the P-80, the first stage.
Exactly.
Et allumage Zephyro 23.
You're getting the confirmations in your ear, Damien?
The confirmation has been given that the second stage was ignited and everything is nominal.
And this is the beginning of the dogleg maneuver
Tous les paramètres à bord sont
coming
normaux.
up.
Yes, the dogleg maneuver is a change of the trajectory plane of the launcher that we perform just after the separation of P-80, and we name it dogleg because when you see the shape of the trajectory, it's like a dogleg.
It does what it says on the tin, as we say in English. So the Z is for Zephyro, which is actually the name of a wind, isn't it?
It's the name of a wind, and it's also the name of a Greek god, the god of west wind.
And you can see down at the bottom of the screen our altitude, our distance from the pad, and vitesse down at the bottom is, of course, the speed. And you can see the trajectory there. The cross is the actual position of the launch vehicle.
Par la station de Galio.
Okay, everything's looking good.
So the fairing is what you were showing us just now, the top of the launch vehicle, and it's protecting our satellites from the rigors of the launch.
Yes, the fairing protects the satellite in different phases. First, during the ground phase, it allows the cavity in which the spacecraft are located to be monitored in a specific temperatures. And during launch, first at liftoff, it protects them from the acoustic noise. And during the atmospheric flight, as we go very quickly through the atmospheres, it generates friction, and so it generates heat, and the fairing protects the satellite from this additional temperature.
There we go, we got separation at the second stage.
Vibrations at launch are very loud, you can just imagine. So here we have separation now. That's what it looks like of the next stage.
Yes, we had the separation of the second stage and the ignition of the
Allumage
third.
Zephyro 9.
There we go, fairing
And there we go.
separation.
The fairing has now been jettisoned. And we have the confirmations there from the range operations manager. We can see SEOSat-Ingenio for the first time at the front. And the other satellite, Taranis, is hidden underneath it.
There we go. Still on its way forward.
It's operated remotely, isn't it?
Exactly. And we got information because the launcher sends some signals towards the ground station network that are located around the flight path, and that allows us to follow the current status of the flight.
So we are going to see those ground stations now. We have, tell us about those tracking facilities.
Yes, we have several ground stations that are located all over the flight path. The 2 first ones are located in Guyana with Galio and Saint-Jean-du-Maroni, which allows us to follow the booster phases. Then we will be in direct visibility of Bermuda, which will allow us to cover the beginning of the first Avum boost, and Saint-Hubert in Canada covers the end of the first Avum boost. The intervisibility periods between 2 stations are not always interleaved. This is what we call a telemetry hall, and this is something completely nominal because it occurs in a phase where we have no active phases from the launchers, and we have such foreseen hall between Saint-Hubert and New Norcia in Australia for this flight. From New Norcia, we will follow the second AVUM boost and the separation of SEOSat. Just after New Norcia, we have once again a telemetry gap as the launchers move around the Earth. This second telemetry gap will reach its end when we will be in direct visibility from Galio again, located in French Guiana. From Galio, the launcher will send again the telemetry data that is transmitted back to CSG in real time for the main parameters and deferred time for the parameters that are to be studied after flight. We have a slight telemetry hold before being again in visibility from Bermuda and from Saint-Hubert, where we will complete the mission.
Okay, so we are now 6 minutes and 17 seconds into our flight. We are traveling at a speed of nearly 8 kilometers per second, which is just phenomenal, really, when you think about it.
Getting ready for there we go.
Going well. And we have separation there of the Z9. And we're really entering the next phase now. The main propulsion phase of the launch is over. We're going into the next phase of the flight, which is to deliver our satellites. I believe we're getting ready to pick up the signal in Bermuda.
Yes, we are currently getting the signal from Bermuda. And Bermuda is located in the Caribbean island, as you have seen before on the maps. And this station is a kind of historical because it was already involved on Mercury programs for NASA and also in the Apollo lunar program. So it's a kind of historical location for space.
Now, just tell us about our orbits. Where are we? Where is the AVUM upper stage going to take?
As we are on a mission where Earth observation is of utmost importance, we will inject our two satellites onto an orbit that we call.
Sorry, I just heard there we had acquisition in Bermuda while we were talking. Sorry to interrupt you.
So we will inject them onto sun-synchronous orbits. This is a kind of orbits where the satellite passes over the same point of Earth, always at the same time. This is why these kind of orbits are very important for Earth observation, because you have always the same illumination from the sun.
So we're coming up to the next point now, which is the switching on of the AVUM upper stage. I call it AVUM in English, and of course the French call it AVUM. And this is what it looks like up there. It's the taxi driver. It delivers our satellites to their drop-off points in space.
Mm-hmm.
And
La propulsion est nominale.
it's really the next phase of the journey now, isn't it?
And now AVUM has taken the wheel, if we can say, so it will propel our launch vehicle with the satellite up to their injection orbit. So for this mission, we will have 2 boosts before separating SEOSat and 2 other boosts before releasing Taranis.
And our 2 satellites, of course, have 2 project directors, and I've been talking to them earlier. Beatriz, this is a really important satellite for Spain, and you must feel incredibly proud as a Spanish woman.
Yes, good evening, Katie. As a Spanish, you're right. I'm extremely proud to participate to this mission because this is the first satellite that has been fully designed and manufactured by the Spanish industry through a consortium of the different companies of the space sector led by Airbus Defense and Spain. SEOSat-Ingenio is also the 10th satellite that Arianespace has launched for Spain, but it is the first that would be for the Earth observation, and also the first that is using the smaller launch vehicle of our family, Vega. So while this, if we don't take into account the 6 other auxiliary payloads that we have also launched for Spain, and 3 of them in the previous Vega right-share mission in September. So it is a great day for Spain, but also for France and for all the European countries that has participated to this mission.
Indeed, it is a great day for France, Fabrizio, but also from a scientific perspective, Taranis is important for all of us on Earth, isn't it?
Katie, yes, you are right. Taranis, whose name, comes from the Celtic god of thunder and lightning, but that's also the acronym for tools for the analysis of radiation from lightning and sprites. Is an old French.
Okay, so right now we're talking about a little bit about the satellite. We are in about 4 minutes. We're going to have the engine cut off of that fourth stage. Then we're going to say goodbye because I'm not going to be able to stay up this late for like another couple hours or for another like 45 minutes to wait for the second stage, second ignition, or the fourth stage, second ignition, second cutoff, satellite separation, then wait another 30 minutes for that same thing to happen again. So we're going to end it in about 5 minutes. Okay, let's listen back in, see what they're talking about now.
Aboard the Vega launcher together, but they've actually traveled all the way to Kourou together, haven't they?
Yes, you're right. The two customers got in touch for sharing the transportation of the satellites. So they have arrived on the same plane here in French Guiana. And the collaboration between the two customers have continued all along the launch campaign, because as I said before, there has been a really great teamwork.
And I would just to add that these two satellites have been married since the beginning, since the signature of the contract. And now this honeymoon will be shortly ended because they will be separated in space.
Thank you very much indeed, and best
funny
of luck
remark,
for the
funny comparison.
And Fabrizio.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Katie. Bye.
Well, it's a good separation. And of course, as we've been hearing,
The separation for the better.
Vega launcher is a very special member of the Ariane space family.
They're talking about the right now. We're talking about the payload, or not the payload, the rocket.
Of injecting the satellites in two different orbits at the same time. And we see that multiple launch and dual launch is becoming the standard for this launcher. So it's the standard for Ariane since a long time. It has been a standard for a long time, double launch. And now we're going
You can't
more
hear
and more
them.
towards multiple launch approach. And with Vega C, this will become even more and more the regular approach that we will use in order to optimize the launch cost for our customers. And so we share the same.
Can you hear them now?
We will have a great benefit for all the customers and the institutions which will come aboard.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Marino. It was really, really interesting. Joining us here in the studio is Daniel Neuenschwander, who's the Director of Space Transportation at the European Space Agency. Thank you very much indeed for being with us, Daniel. I mean, as we were saying there, Europe is blessed with a family of launchers, which can take virtually any satellites to virtually any orbit.
Yes, any payload to any orbit, but in addition
okay, we've got the engine cut off. I am going to
for autonomy of action.
Okay, so they just had cut off of the first cutoff of that engine. We're going to wrap it up here today. I'm sorry, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions about the launch, feel free to write in the discussion and if in the comments on this video, or if you're watching it after, or yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Goodbye. Bye. I'm gonna give you 30 seconds to get out of here. So here you go.